So I was waiting to see what the data was going to look like this morning, and I knew either way it would be kind of a double-edged sword, and that's exactly what it was. It was incredibly good, and right now the markets are trying to digest how they're going to proceed through the day. We still have a lot of news and a lot of data that's going to come, and I want to talk about that with you guys, as well as cover just a few other things that people need to be aware of. So if you guys are new or haven't already, show your support for the channel down below. Hit that subscribe button, that bell. It's free to do. It'll keep you updated anytime there's new content live here on the channel. So we're looking at SHIB. We're still following this big descending wedge, just as we did actually, again, last time we broke out all the way back here in April. We did this same thing. Now, I will say SHIB is unfortunately below all of its moving averages on the daily. That sucks. We're kind of in no man's land. Granted, we did this exact same thing last time before we had a breakout to the upside and a nice significant rally. Does this mean this is going to take place the same way? Not necessarily. But we did get some news this morning that maybe could give a little bit of life to the market today, and I'll get to this more in just a moment here. But BTC currently sitting actually still above its 20-day moving average, trying to break out of the top side of this big bull flag that it's building. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Now, that being said, the news that we got this morning came as a bit of a shock to me. Basically, this morning, we found out our GDP numbers, and Q2 GDP crushed expectations, actually up 3%. That is a pretty big pump. It's actually one of the largest quarters we've seen in the last 6 quarters. That's a pretty big deal. In the first quarter, real GDP decreased 0.5%. The increase in real GDP in the second quarter primarily reflected a decrease in imports, which are a subtraction in the calculation of GDP, and an increase in consumer spending. So that was kind of surprising. These movements were partly offset by decreases in investments and exports. So yeah, this led us to just basically blow Q1 out of the water. So it's good, but it's also bad. And the reason why it's bad is that we now have almost zero chance of an interest rate decrease coming today. It also now probably puts September a little bit in question, but again, there's a lot of data that we need to get, a lot of reports, a lot of economic data before we get to that point in September where the Fed has to make a decision. Now, something I will say is still working in our favor is when we look at inflation data, it's still pretty much flat, right? It's stuck at about 2%. That's the Fed's goal. That's their target. So that's kind of right where we need to be. And as long as we don't really stray too far from this, then things for the path towards interest rate decreases later this year are looking very good. Now, something I wanted to point to in terms of SHIB here is that we're still seeing a lot of consistency in terms of whales, in terms of holders. You know, it's kind of funny. I saw some comments yesterday about people saying, yeah, whales have been selling about. No, they really haven't. We did have a whale unload day on the 26th. We had a very modest unload day on the 28th. But for the most part, it's been accumulation. And seeing that, you know, these next 2 days are probably going to be pretty quiet for the most part. I'm going to update the total numbers today at some point just to take a look at this month because it has in fact been very, very big. Something I wanted to point to as well is we're still just seeing big liquidations on the long side in terms of SHIB. That's why price is down where it's at. It kind of sucks. It is what it is. I get it, guys. I'm ready for things to start just, you know, waking up, or I'm ready for things to wake up and just start moving. We've actually fallen down to 22nd. So now we're technically the 20th spot in crypto. Just a brutal 24 hours. And again, this doesn't mean that SHIB is bad. It doesn't mean that it's dying or falling by the wayside or anything like that. It's just current setup of the market. Right now, meme coin interest is still very low. We're just not doing a whole lot. All right. It sucks. It is what it is. We'll see how the week progresses. Hopefully we can get a little boost in data today, but I appreciate you guys as always. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts below, but have a great day. Catch you guys in the next one. Take care.